Good evening, everybody. It is the Safety and the Sportswriter, a special edition, Friday edition, Safety and the Sportswriter with Knoxville Nate and Big Joe.
Super Bowl edition.
Super Bowl edition, exactly. And we have a lot to get to with the Super Bowl and what we think is going to happen this Sunday. And the ultimate game, the game that breaks our hearts, as it's the end of the football season. But it's what we spend our whole fall waiting to happen. So we got that going on. We have the NBA trade deadlines where a big upheaval in a lot of the teams went on, a very, should we say, active, if not attractive, trade deadlines. And we're going to talk a little bit about who is the real MVP of the NFL. But we got that to get through. And Nate, before we get going, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, sir. I'm excited about the Super Bowl. And you know what? Football never really ends. You know, we got the Super Bowl. It's over. But we just had the Senior Bowl. We'll have the Combine coming up. We'll have pro days going down. We've got, before we know it, they'll be doing the enshrinement in Canton, and we'll have the Hall of Fame game. We got camp. Football's never over. So
it is true. It does melt together. So yeah, and plus we have got college going on too, which always keeps us occupied. So we'll get to that, but let's get to the NBA trading deadline. You sent me a little blurb or a little text message about how I feel, and as a guy who grew up in the shadow of New York, it's everybody wanted Kevin Durant, everybody wanted Kyrie, and what did you get out of it? Nothing. And I'm just when that team that was here before those two arrived with Kenny Atchison and that litany of players that nobody knew their names to, played hard every night. They were fun to watch, and I don't know, it was because of media, because of whatever. I call it the Steinbrennerization of New York City. We had to get two superstars to come here, and you know what? 4 years later, bless you. 4 years later, still no championship, Nets. And what bothers me more than anything else is these two. They're 10 games over 500. They're 10 games over 500. They are right now in the midst of the playoffs. They are right there. They could be it. And this is what we're coming to. We're all suckers now. We are suckers for the hype, suckers for these superstars that, yeah, they'll get stats and they'll end up in the Hall of Fame and all. But I don't really think they care about winning. I really don't think Kyrie Irving gives a crap about his team or his teammates or winning. I find it hard to believe that Kevin Durant cares about it. He would rather tag his star to Golden State or tag his star to the Suns than to have to be a leader, to have to stand up there and say what he's about, say to the guys, follow me, and give them expectations the way LeBron does, the way Magic used to, the way Michael used to, the way Larry Bird used to, the way all these real superstars, these legends were. And I am just sick to death that this guy has a good chance of winning a championship, and everybody, wow, Kevin Durant, the last piece of the Suns puzzle. Look what he did for them, like he did for Golden State. He just is a mercenary, and I don't respect him at all. I respect his talent, but as an individual and as a leader, I have no respect for him. And I don't know what you feel about it, but you can take it from there.
I mean, I don't really feel like it. It makes the Suns a surefire lock to win the title. I really don't. I mean, they lost two of their key pieces in the trade. They're two, bench guys, and there's only so many shots per game. And now you got Chris Paul, now you got Devin Booker, and you got Kevin Durant, and you got DeAndre Ayton, who wants the ball down low. I mean, who? It's just hard for me to believe that this guy who can't get along with anyone is going to get along with these guys so graciously. And you know what? I think it's so funny that these guys chose Brooklyn. They all chose to go there together. They were going to go form the big three, win a bunch of titles. They handpicked their own coach. Well, last year doesn't work out. They fire the coach. This year, they're actually having the best season that they've had, just the two of them, Kevin Durant and Kyrie, having the best season they've had since all of them decided to go there, and they both went out. I just don't get it at all. And I don't understand why they feel like none of this is their fault. They're the ones who were supposed to, drive this team and be the leaders of this team. And they're the ones that formed this team. And when it doesn't work out, they abandon ship. It just drives me nuts. And like I told you, I watched the game last night. The Nets coach, Jacques Vaughn, who should have been the coach 3 years ago when he took them to the bubble on an interim basis and never lost a game, and then got ousted because Kevin Durant wanted to hire his buddy, Steve Nash. He coached last night. He coached a great game. The players all looked so happy, so relieved, so energetic, and they beat the crap out of the Bulls. So, I think all those guys in the Nets team are happy that both those dudes are gone, and, we'll see what happens. But I don't think the Mavericks are going to win the title. And honestly, I think the Suns probably had a better chance, winning it without Kevin Durant if Devin Booker could get healthy.
No, we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens there. But it's a good argument there. But the other thing is that what came to mind when you were just talking is like, no one ever talks about the collateral damage. Kenny Atkinson, who's a good young coach, is still trying to get in a head coaching job again.
Yeah.
Because these two douchebags said they couldn't play for him. But they also couldn't play for their friend Steve Nash, who's another guy, collateral damage. If he wants to be a head coach again, it's going to probably take a while or get another situation where someone needs a big name for him to get another chance. So, I mean, that's the other thing that these guys never get roasted for. The trades that were made so they get their friends here or the people they felt comfortable about. All the people they had to be moved around to make these two people happy. And the net fans who paid all that money and go down to the stadium every night to watch them are played for fools. And they're okay still. They're still going to make their money. They're still not going to care. Kyrie got his ring early. He doesn't care. Kevin got his ring. It's not like they don't have their rings, so they don't care.
Yeah, but they weren't the reason those rings were won. I mean, let's be honest. If Kyrie cared about winning, he would have stayed in Cleveland and made it work with LeBron.
Yeah.
And won a bunch of titles. But
exactly.
As soon as they won, he wanted out because he was tired of living in LeBron's shadow. Well, you know what, dude? You're not even close to the type of player LeBron is and never will be. LeBron is actually a guy who wants to win and tries to make his teammates better, not just see how many points he can score every night. I actually want to give James Harden some credit because he's gone to Philadelphia and he's actually embraced his role with the 76ers and tried to be a good team guy and help them win. So I'll at least give James a little bit of credit here for what he's done. But Kevin Durant and Kyrie, I've never been a big fan of either one of them. And I'm even less a fan of them now. And I just think it's funny. It's one thing if you go and you form a super team and you win a couple titles and then you want to go elsewhere and all that. You form your super team. You can't even, get into the semifinals and then you break it up and want to trade. I mean, demanding a trade from the team that you handpicked to go to, where you handpicked, the coach and all the players. It's just baffling to me. And I hope that the Suns can continue to play well, but it's going to be tough with this guy wanting to jack up 35 shots a night. And think about it, he's 35 years old with bad knees. So we'll see how long he lasts in Phoenix.
Well, you'd hope. I don't hope for anything. I'd rather see him fall on his face. Why should I hope for anything good to happen to these guys? Why? What makes my day better if they win? Because both of them were idiots as far as I'm concerned around here, and let them go. Good, they're out of here. Maybe I don't have to hear about it with the media. The only thing I could say that works to my presence is the fact of the matter is, no one ever covers the Nets around here, and the only time they covered him is when either one of these guys was on Twitter or doing something stupid that drove the people crazy. So, good riddance. Goodbye. Go away.
Yeah.
I mean, I just hope they fall on their faces. I just hope they do. And James or with James Harden, I think the one thing I will say about James Harden is, and it is not a defense of him, but even when he was never a Kyrie,
No.
and he was not really a Kevin, but he got treated like he was them. He never really said anything. Yeah, he drove you crazy the way he played, but he kind of kept his mouth shut.
Yeah.
So I mean, what bothered everybody is he was perceived as a chucker, selfish. He was perceived as this, and and maybe that's what the coach asked him to do, and maybe that's what he what he wanted to do. But as it happens in a lot of cases, as you get older, you learn.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people are grading this trade as an A for the Nets. You think about it, you get rid of your max contract, all-time great player, and everybody's giving you an A for unloading him. I mean, that just shows you what this guy is worth at this point. But there were some other deals that went down that were pretty interesting. I think the Lakers moving on from Russ and getting D'Angelo Russell back on the team, I think is a good fit. I think it's better than having Russell Westbrook jacking up shots. So there was some interesting moves, but I think it'll be cool to see what happens with these guys once they get to their new homes, and who if anybody can get better with the dudes they got.
I tell you, right now, I wish D'Angelo Russell was back on the Nets.
Yeah.
They never should have parted from him. They should have made him a max player and kept him.
Yeah.
Like having Spencer Dinwiddie back because he's funny as hell. And I loved him when he was there. Karis LeVert. I'd love to have that team back.
Yeah.
No. I mean,
he played last night. He played really good.
I mean, every night they complimented each other. No one they get you had Joe Harris. You had a few players. There wasn't one guy scoring 27 points or two guys scoring 27 points. I mean, I was looking at the stats last night getting ready for the show today. And I mean, you sit there and you look, when Harden, Durant, and Kyrie were playing together, they averaged something like 70 points between three players or 80 points between three players. How do you ever lose?
Yeah.
But meanwhile, when this team, before they ever got here, when you had Dinwiddie, when you had, those guys playing, they were winning because they were working hard. They were playing for each other, playing defense, doing everything. So I tell you, I would much rather come up short of a championship but be proud of the team I'm rooting for than to give me a superstar and come up short and be ragging and thinking that it was everybody else's fault. And this is one thing before we get onto LeBron. Word to the wise, New York Jet fans. This is what could happen with Aaron Rodgers if he comes here. You could have another Kevin Durant and Kyrie headache.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's possible, but at least Aaron Rodgers, is an actual player that can make guys better, and instead of just trying to get stats. Although who knows what that guy's doing these days? He's gotten really, really weird.
He's sitting in the dark, getting in touch with himself.
Yeah,
hope he has a flashlight.
He's definitely touching himself. I'll tell you that much.
All right, and then milestone for LeBron. I mean, and no one deserves it more. I mean, he's been consistent over his whole career. I can't believe how old he is now, man. How old I feel.
Yeah.
But I mean, to watch a career like he's put together, and to get the thing about it, having him get the title, and I'm not trying to blow sunshine up his butt or anything, but he's a complete player.
Yeah.
I'd be PO'd if it was somebody, I'm not just anybody that was just, somebody just trying to score all night. Yeah, if you hoist 40 shots, you're going to get a lot of points. Here's a guy who played the game on every level, rebounding, assists, defense. He played the complete game in one championship, led three different cities, to championships. I mean, how can you go against him? But like I said, it wasn't that he did it in a selfish way. He did it in a team way.
Yeah, no, I mean, this isn't a guy who's really even known for his scoring. I mean, yeah, he can score when he wants to, but that's not what LeBron's all about. And that's what, I thought was interesting when they were interviewing him about it. he said, the one knock on me is that I'm not one of the great scorers. He's like, well, I'm the all-time leading scorer in the NBA, so I have to be able to score somewhat. But yeah, this is a guy that can do it all, man. I mean, he can facilitate. He can play with power and just dominate by dominating people, by pushing them around. He can play the finesse game. There's just nothing that this guy can't do. And what's amazing to me is watching him at 38 years old still do a lot of the things that he did when he was 18. I mean, it's crazy to me to see this guy who hasn't really broken down yet. I mean, it's just phenomenal the amount of games he's played in. I mean, think about all those years where he played in the finals. What was it, 11 years in a row he played in the finals? So you're taking the preseason all the way to the finals. That's hundreds of games that he played in each year for 11 years in a row, and he's still going pretty strong. I wish he had a little bit of a better team around him right now, but it doesn't take away anything from what this guy is to the NBA.
And the important thing too, not just the amount of games played, the amount of minutes played.
Exactly.
Because he didn't play. He wasn't a 20-minute man. He was a 20-minute a night guy. He was a 35-minute a night guy, a 40-minute a night guy. So I mean, maybe 48-minute night guy at some point. So it was that body took a lot of beating. And the only thing I will say, I think it's nice in some respects that he's in a Laker uniform breaking Kareem's record. But there is a part of me that wishes he did it in a Cleveland Cavaliers uniform.
Me too.
Just so it would have been, giving that city another thing to be proud of, and just to be back at his roots. But I mean, he can't have everything, so at least we can be happy for him and what he got. So
yeah, no doubt. I wish he was still on the Cavs, but this is, it's a different era of the NBA. I mean, look at it. These guys, even the best players, jump teams every year. So it's just not like the old days where somebody gets on a team and they stay there for 10 or 15 years and gut it out and they build around them. People jump sharp all the time. And the fact that he stayed in LA when he could have left. I mean, he could have left last year. He could leave this year. He could have left at the trade deadline. He could go to another team and try and, tack another title to his resume. But he's staying where he, made a commitment to and trying to make the best of it. And I think that tells you all you need to know about this guy.
Well, I think also, his outside interests, his businesses work out there. Plus, I think, at some point in your life, especially if you're an athlete at his level, here's a guy who's never had a controversy, still married to his high school sweetheart, and he's dragged his family around the country. I think probably, he looks at his kids are probably teenage and college age now. He doesn't want to uproot them again. You know what I mean? It's like,
no, you're right. They play high school, but they're playing. The one son, Ronnie's playing high school basketball and is a senior this year. You think he really wants to move him and make him go to a new school and start over? I agree with you. I think
or play in a different, or live in a different city while he is playing out there.
I think a lot of it has to do with family, man. He loves his family and he wants to kind of make a stable environment for them. And hell, he lived in LA half the time anyway before. So it makes sense for him to be at the Lakers. I just wish they had a general manager like Jerry West who could bring in some guys that could help them win,
Here's the one thing I'll throw out there for LeBron, one challenge to him. I don't know when it's going to end. Whenever you want it to end, it's fine. But here's a challenge. Buy the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Hey, he's going to have enough money.
Come back and take care of, you can live out in LA and buy the Cleveland Cavaliers and make them do what Michael Jordan did, but do it for your hometown. Like kind of Michael did for his. He bought Charlotte. So there you go. So we'll see. But he hasn't been so successful. We'll see what happens there. Let's get on before we get to the Super Bowl. We have Pat Mahomes winning the MVP. Yeah, I know. Jalen Hurts. I mean, it's hard to attack the choice, but Jalen Hurts from start to finish, I mean, his team lost one game or two games, and he only lost one. And I don't know. This is why it's so hard to take these awards seriously anymore in every sport, because it's a popularity contest, as I was talking to you before we came on the air. ESPN has barely covered Jalen Hurts this year. For as great as he's been, it was about Tom Brady till Tom Brady fell off. It's about Pat Mahomes. It's about Burrow. It's about Josh Allen. Like those are the only four quarterbacks playing. Now, believe me, I think Brady's always going to be newsworthy because of who he is, even though he's not the player and finally he retired. And Mahomes, Burrow, and Josh Allen, I have ultimate respect for those guys. But if you look at it, Jalen Hurts fills all the bills for MVP this year.
I mean, I don't I thought the MVP was supposed to be the most valuable player. I thought you're supposed to look at what their overall body of work. Think about if you took them away from the team, what would that team be like? And don't get me wrong, I'm not taking anything away from Patrick Mahomes. Is Patrick Mahomes the best quarterback in the NFL? Probably so. But you know what? Patrick Mahomes is on the Kansas City Chiefs with Andy Reid, with Travis Kelce, with a lot of guys that have won a lot of games, and that Kansas City team was winning before he even got on the field. They went to the playoffs and won the division when they had Alex Smith. Right. So, this team, just rewind this Eagles team a couple of years ago when Carson Wentz was the starter. How was that going? It was a mess. It was a disaster. There was no direction. There was no leadership. There was no toughness. There was nothing. This guy takes over. He plays in 4 games. People in Philadelphia even say that he sucks, that he should be a running back. People talk about on this show telling me that I'm an idiot for saying that he's going to be a good quarterback. What does he do this year? But he finally gets a offensive coordinator for the second year in a row. He hadn't had the same offensive coordinator for 2 years in a row since he was in high school. So he gets to actually learn a system and then play it again for a second year. And what does he do but goes out and wins every single game he plays in except one. And the 2 games that he can't play in because his shoulder's banged up, the team gets beat. I mean, that's right there shows you who the MVP is. This team that's almost invincible and loses 1 game all season, suddenly he can't play because he's injured, and they're very, very beatable. So I think that shows you right there that this guy, hey, maybe you want to vote for Patrick Mahomes. You think Mahomes is better. You think he's more valuable to the Chiefs. That's fine. But to sit there and give this guy 1 vote for the NFL MVP when he's led his team to the Super Bowl and, scored the most touchdowns of any player of Eagles history, that to me just shows that these awards mean absolutely nothing and make no sense. I mean, what else did you want this guy to do? I just don't get it. I'm so utterly confused as to what did you want from him? I don't know.
Well, I think all these awards are getting crazy now. They're I don't know who the voters are. I don't individually. I don't know. You can come up with excuses. I mean, the thing is that Patrick Mahomes is on TV every week. No matter what, he's on TV. Somehow he'll be prime time. The Eagles aren't into that stratosphere yet. They're not one of the teams. Hopefully after this year, they'll get up into that where they'll be seen. But that's no excuse for these people not. If you got to vote, do your research. Just because you don't see them. I mean, you can see any game you want now. I mean, if you're going to vote on something, take it seriously. At least say you've seen. I mean, I get in arguments all the time about players. I like at being that I'm one of the older guys now. I'll get in arguments with these younger people. That the guy played against. I said, "Did you ever see him play?" I've seen him play. I've seen him play, and I've seen the new guys play. So I got a pretty good view of what they do. But I mean, to sit there and give 1 vote to a man who, from start to finish, was one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL, I'd have to say, I'd have to put Hurts, Mahomes, and Burrow were the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL this year. I think Josh Allen had some problems. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he takes on too much responsibility there. We talked about that many times. The running game. Tom, you said it best. Oh, this is not Tom Brady 2010. This is Tom Brady 2022, and he's not as good as he used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like I said, what else you want Jalen Hurts to do. The guy throws for almost 4,000 yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He runs for almost 800 yards. He had 13 touchdowns rushing. I mean, there's not much more you can do. He creates an environment where they have two guys that have over 1,000 yards receiving. They run for over 2,500 yards as a team. I mean, this offense looked 100% different than it did 2 years ago. This is one of the best teams in the league. This guy deserves to be. I mean, I think it's a slap in the face to what he's done, and hopefully it serves as motivation, because what I want to see is Jalen Hurts lifting the trophy up and taking home the MVP, because he certainly deserves it after the season that he's had.
I got to ask you a question because you're. I know you love both these players, but I'm gonna give you one player. You're the head coach, whatever team. I'm gonna give you two players as your quarterback. Which one are you taking, Jalen or Lamar?
I knew you were going to say that. I don't know. I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I love Lamar Jackson. I really do. And I think, I don't think we've really seen what Lamar Jackson can do, because I feel like they've been wasting him in Baltimore. I mean, the offense is a little, just not adequate to what he does best. I mean, I know they've created this running game around him, but they don't take advantage of what he can do throwing the football. They don't have any wide receivers.
Right.
The offensive line has been suspect the last couple of years. I mean, I just don't know, but I would say, after watching this season, I just would have a hard time not taking Jalen Hurts. I mean, this guy is so tough. It's just his mentality. He's just a winner. He's always won his whole life. He's always going to win. And not that Lamar's not a winner, because he is. He wins games too. But if I got, a game on the line and I need one guy to be my quarterback and lead my team, honestly, I think I'd take Jalen Hurts.
I mean, not because I don't know either of them. But the one moment I always go back to with Jalen Hurts is when Tua took over his job in Alabama, and he wasn't a jerk about it. In fact, he came out off the bench to help them to win later on in the year.
Yeah, he won the SEC. He came in and won the SEC championship game for him.
Right. I mean, a lot of guys would have just sat there and said, "Screw it, just I'll go into the portal and I'll see you next year or whatever. See whatever. I don't have to do this." But it showed class. It showed a kind of leadership that is rare in this world. And then to go to Oklahoma and do the things he did there, and since he's come to, and believe me, it's hard for me as a Giant fan. This guy might be there the next 15 years, and it's not going to be easy to beat the Philadelphia Eagles any year that he's their quarterback.
Yeah, no, if he can stay healthy, this team is going to be formidable. I mean, and he does run the ball a lot, so staying healthy, is going to be the number one priority for him. But I look at teams that have guys that run the ball a lot less than him. They get hurt a lot more than him. Yeah. So, I just think he's a guy that not only spearheads this rushing attack, but he can throw the ball too. And he just wins games. I mean, that's all he knows. And like you said, the mentality, he lost 2 games as a starter for Alabama and gets benched in the national championship game. Does he quit? Does he say anything bad? No, he comes back the next year, serves as the backup to a younger player, and goes out, works his butt off every single day. When he finally gets called upon to go in the SEC championship game, in game 13 of the season, he comes in and wins it for him by playing lights out, and then goes on to Oklahoma and wins a Big 12 championship there. So this is a guy, like I said, who I would choose to lead my team any day. He's a coach's son, and he's just a hard worker, and he loves football. I mean, that's the biggest thing I see from it.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, because that's been my argument all this week with people when we were talking about not to bring back to the Kevin Durant and the Kyrie Irving, but Kyrie Irving I brought up, and and Aaron Rodgers. And to my friends in this area, I've said, when you look at these two guys, my opinion of Aaron Rodgers and Kyrie Irving is they play the sports they play because that's the best way for them to make money. They don't really have a passion for the game. You know what I mean? It's not, you don't get that sense from them that they love what they're doing. It just happens to be what they're very good at. It's like
Yeah.
going to see a bad band in concert that is just there to take your money. It's like it's like it is. It's just you just feel like that, but you never get that from Jalen Hurts, or you never get that from Mahomes or Jackson or Josh Allen or Burrow. They're football junkies, and you can tell it about them. So
He is, man. He grew up just loving football. His dad was the coach, and he was a great all-time player in Texas high school football. And then he goes to Alabama and wins there. Then he goes to Oklahoma and wins there. And it's just the attitude that this guy has. He's always a team guy. He's always working working harder than anyone else. The best story that I've ever heard about Jalen Hurts was the year that he came in as a rookie and he wasn't starting. He would stay late after everybody else went home, or he would go out like to eat or something with the assistant coaches and the quarterback's coach and the offensive coordinator, whoever he could get in front of, and he would have them go over the game plan so that it was like he was playing the next day. What did you talk to the starter about? What did you go over Carson Wentz about the game tomorrow? He's like, I want to hear what you told him, just like if I was starting. So he's a guy that is willing to put in the effort to be great, and that's why this team is where it is in the Super Bowl 6 years after they were there before.
Yeah, it paid off well for them in Philadelphia. Hey, before we get to the Super Bowl, I've been seeing some stuff going across the NFL talking about tackling after the Mahomes injury and the Pollard injury. Have you seen any of those articles
about what now?
The tackling, how the tackle that hurt Mahomes in the playoffs and the tackle that hurt Pollard in the playoffs, and they're talking about coming up with a new way or new rules to protect people against from those tackles. And I'm like just sitting there going, first of all, they were freaky plays. Are you now? You're going to penalize a guy if it happens that that when he takes the guy to the ground, he gets injured. I mean, is this what we're going to get to? Are we going to have to put the yellow jerseys on the quarterbacks or put flags on them, and that's the only way you get to touch them? Because it's really, the defenses are hamstrung enough as it is.
Yeah.
I mean, to just sit there, do you want to work on maybe being better tacklers so people don't get hurt? Okay, I get that. But if you're going to start throwing flags saying, oh, this guy meant to do this to somebody, intent and stuff like that, I got to have a big problem. I can't watch that go on.
No, I mean, that's when you're getting close to, ruining the game. They've already got every rule in the book geared towards the offense. It's almost impossible now to even make a play in the secondary, and to tweak that more, I think at this point is beyond ridiculous. I mean, there's going to be injuries. Okay, this is a contact sport.
Right.
There is no way to take injury out of the game of football. There's just no way to do it. In fact, your liberal buddies up there in New York are trying to get rid of tackle football for youth players all throughout the state of New York. So maybe that's what we're moving to. Maybe we're not going to play tackle football anymore. And if that's where we want to go, then that's where we can go. But if you're going to start trying to manipulate the game further by changing the rules on tackling, we're going to get more towards a flag football, two-hand touch type of game, and that's not where I want to go.
Especially when you see the ridiculous calls on roughing the passer that everybody's up in arms about, because it's ridiculous. These guys can't even touch. I mean, the guy falls on the guy's lap and they give him a roughing the passer call. I mean, come on. It's just no. I just don't want to see it happen. So let's get right to the Super Bowl, the big game, the biggest game of the year out in Arizona. Although I hear there's some B&B guys out there, or that are not those guys that rent out their houses that aren't. I guess a lot of houses aren't being rented out there. So maybe not people aren't going to show up that much, but they'll get some. They'll get it. They'll have a full crowd. Anyways, we got the two best teams, it would seem, arrived in the playoffs. The two best quarterbacks, both of them a little dinged up. But I got to believe that with 2 weeks, these guys, those injuries, even though we all know about the high ankle sprain and we know that that Jalen Hurts was operating at about 70%, I think the 2 weeks will have them ready to go. I don't think they'll be showing any wear for that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, unless there's just something we don't know, I think both these guys should be good to go. I mean, I don't know the severity of Hurts's shoulder injury, but to be honest, I don't think it's worse than they're reporting. I mean, I think it was an injury. I think he had some problems with it. Obviously, it affected the way that he was throwing the football. But I feel like these 2 weeks are going to get him back into the fold. And I've heard all these people say, oh, if you look at the last 4 games that he did play, he wasn't the same after that Giants game. I'm just like, yeah, he was fucking hurt. I mean, give me a break, dude. He needs to get healthy. And when he gets healthy, he'll get back to it. And I feel like these 2 weeks are going to allow him to get back. And if you look at the 49ers game, they really called the dogs off, in the second half.
Both the playoff games, they really didn't. He really didn't have to do that much. I mean,
exactly. And that's why he didn't do that much. He didn't have to. They were in control. They didn't want him to get hurt. They didn't have to go out and throw it 50 times for them to win. So why should he do that? I think if this game dictates that he has to throw the ball, I think he'll be healthy enough to do so, and I think he'll do it good. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith are good wide receivers, and that's what the people don't realize. They're like, oh, Jalen Hurts got so much better from year 1 to year 2. Well, he did get better, but also they got AJ Brown. Last year, when Jalen Hurts was running around, there wasn't anybody open half the time because they didn't have any good wide receivers. The one guy they had that was good is 5'11" and 150 pounds. They finally got a big number 1 wideout in AJ Brown who can go down the field, make catches, contested, whatever, and you get that true number 1, and everybody looks better. So I feel like he's going to be healthy enough to win, and he's going to do whatever whatever he needs to do to win the game.
So, I mean, let's think about this game right here, right now. I think the biggest difference is the Philadelphia defense. I even though I know Steve Spagnuolo and I respect him for what he did with the Giants and how he helped beat Tom Brady and stuff, but Tom Brady was a different issue. Tom Brady was somebody he's not going to run. Tom Brady was, as long as he could stay in the pocket, he's going to be all right. And the fact that the Giants were able to just destroy the pocket on him in 2 different Super Bowls and knock him on his butt so many times served them well. You're not going to have that easy a thing to do with Jalen Hurts, because he'll get out there with his legs and he'll take 20, 30 yards a clip off you.
Well, and all I keep hearing is that, the Chiefs are going to focus on stopping the run of the Eagles, and their primary goal for Spagnuolo is going to be to shut down that running game, and they're gonna do run blitzes, and they're going to do this, they're going to do that. Well, you know what? It's real easy to talk about stopping the Eagles' run game. It's a lot harder to actually do it. I feel like the Eagles are going to be able to run the football no matter what the hell Steve Spagnuolo does. Chris Jones, he's a great player. He's one of the best defensive tackles, maybe the best defensive tackle in the game right now. But there's ways to block him. And the Eagles' offensive line has done it all season long. They're one of the best, if not the best, offensive line in the NFL. And I don't think that the Chiefs are going to stop the Eagles' run game, no matter what the hell they do.
The other thing that I think is real important is the Eagles' defensive backfield, because the way their corners can play one-on-one, they're going to be able to find ways to buffer for Kelsey. I think they're going to get extra people on Kelsey that's going to really bother him. What do you think?
Yeah, I do. I mean, as we talked about before in this show, they've got the guys to cover them up. I really like Slay. I think he's one of the best cover corners in the league. Not only him, but you go to the opposite
Bradbury.
side, and they've got Bradbury, who they picked up from your Giants, and he's damn good. So you got those two guys, and then what I think is Howie Roseman's best move in the offseason was going and grabbing Gardner Johnson, and it's right there. Getting him into the fold was huge. I mean, this is a guy who's leading the NFL in interceptions with 6 of them. And you put him with Slay and Bradbury, and then you've got 3 guys that can cover pretty much anybody. And you throw the safeties that they've got, Kavon Wallace, Marcus Epps, Reed Blankenship, and Gardner Johnson. I mean, Avonte Maddox, he gets out there. I mean, this is a very deep secondary, and they don't even get a lot of the credit because everybody's giving credit to their defensive line for getting all the sacks they've got. One of the reasons these guys get sacks is there's nowhere to throw the ball. So these guys are running for their lives. They're looking downfield, trying to find someone to throw the ball to, and there's nobody open. And that's why, these guys have gotten the most sacks since the 85 Bears, because they're good pass rushers, and B, the secondary is so good.
And let's talk, while we're on that line of the train of thought, I mean, Andy Reid, one of the big pieces that everybody picks on about Andy Reid is, first of all, he's maybe a little too pass happy or too dependent on the pass and not patient enough in some games, where sometimes it's the better thought to just line up your guys for a while, run the ball, try and use the clock, play field position, and maybe draw people off his wide receiver. Will he be confident enough and patient enough if things aren't going his way to draw things in and not let it get out of hand? What do you think about that?
No, I agree with that. That's, if there's any criticism at all that you can throw towards Andy Reid, is his reluctance sometimes to run the football. And I think that could be an issue in this game. The games are all about matchups. I mean, let's be honest, that's what the NFL is about each week. Who matches up against who, and usually the team that matches up the best is going to win. And when I think about the Chiefs offensive line versus the Eagles defensive line, and then the wide receivers for the Kansas City Chiefs against the secondary of the Eagles, I'm kind of thinking the Eagles win on both sets. I mean, I really do, up front and deep. I'm kind of picking the Eagles in both ways. Juju Smith-Schuster, he's a good player. He doesn't really scare me. Valdez-Scantling has the speed to go deep, but he's kind of a guy that, he's kind of bang or bust. One game he'll have 130 yards, and the next game he'll have 4, and he's just not a guy that's consistently killed anybody. McCole Hardman's on injured reserve. He's not going to play. Kadarius Toney will be out there for 6 plays before he gets injured.
Right.
So, I mean, who really scares the hell out of you in this receiver core? I mean, Tyreek Hill being gone hasn't really slowed this team down a whole lot on offense. But in a game like this, where it's the 2 best teams, that's when the matchups become even that much more important. And as you mentioned, it's going to come down to Travis Kelce. If they can slow him down, I mean, it's just like stopping the Eagles' run game. It's way easier to talk about stopping Travis Kelce than it is to actually do it. A lot of people talk about doing it, but nobody really does it. If they can actually do it, then the Eagles have a really good chance, because he is the go-to guy. And things looked a lot tougher last week when he had those back spasms. So hopefully he's healthy and ready to go, because if he's not, it could be a long day for their offense.
What about Pacheco? Can he be the guy that they could maybe, put a lot of emphasis on with their running back or their running attack?
You know what? This guy is just unbelievable. I cannot believe how well he's played this year. I can't believe it. I'm 830 yards, averaging 5 yards a carry. He's only got 5 touchdowns, but he's been their main go-to guy running the football. I mean, the next second leading rusher for the Kansas City Chiefs behind Pachinko, do you know who it is?
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. He is their second leading rusher. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been banged up quite a bit. He's going to try and give it a go in this game, but you're right. It's going to come down to Pacheco, and I like this kid out of Rutgers. He is a Big Ten running back, and he's got speed, he's got quickness, he's got power, he's got everything. But do I think they'll commit to giving him the ball 20 to 25 times? No, I don't. And even so, if they do try and run the ball 20 to 25 times, they're going to mix it up, and they're going to have McKinnon out there. They'll put Edwards-Helaire out there for a couple carries, and I just don't think they'll give him the ball enough to make a huge difference. But
I know they like McKinnon because he's great at blitz pickup.
Yeah,
and great. He's one of those versatile guys out of the backfield. The thing I love about Pacheco is the fact that he almost never goes down on the first hit.
Yeah,
it usually takes 3 or 4 hits to get him down.
Oh, that's just a powerful dude.
Yeah, I mean, even when you think, I forget. I think it was the Cincinnati game. You're like, he's surrounded by 3 guys that are on him, and you're like, oh, he's done. He got another 3 yards.
Yeah.
Like,
no, he's powerful, and like I said, 5 yards a carry. That's very impressive, especially for a guy as young as he is. But Jerick McKinnon's going to be out in the field a lot because they throw the ball a lot, and McKinnon's got 71 targets this season,
right?
56 catches, 512 yards, 9 touchdowns receiving. He's very, very important to their passing game, and as we know, they like to throw the ball, so he'll be out in the field quite a bit.
And he does like to pass the ball. If you got to pick, okay, let's go. Number 1 strength on each team. Number 1 strength on Kansas City.
Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. The connection between those 2 guys, as I mentioned, everybody wants to shut that down. Everybody wants to keep Travis Kelce out of the end zone, but it's so hard to do because who are you going to put on him? You put your best corner on him, and he just bullies him and boxes him out, plays a little basketball type, and goes after it. You put a safety on him, and he outruns him. So that's the best thing for me is their quarterback, is his ability to make plays time and time again, and their ability to make plays together with that Mahomes to Kelce connection.
Number 1 strength on the Eagles.
Their running game. As I mentioned, Jalen Hurts, not only is he a great passer, but he is a great runner of the football. But it's not just him. The reason that running game works the way it does is because A, he's really good, and then B, they've got Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell.
Don't ever say Boston Scott in my presence again.
That's that's an F word to you. But this guy, the way that they use those 3 guys interchangeably is just phenomenal. And the way that they block, and it's not just those running backs, it's not just Jalen, it's that offensive line. Maliata, Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, all those guys up front. They push the pile. And these guys can run it right behind them. So that running game of the Eagles is it's hard to stop.
Okay. The Kansas City Chiefs, the one part of that team that could lead to their downfall.
It's with their defense. Can they get stops? That's one thing they've had trouble with over the past few years, is being able to go out and stop people consistently, and that is the biggest concern I have with them in this game in Super Bowl is, can they stop the Eagles? I know that they're going to score. The Chiefs are going to get points. As good as the Eagles defense is, they're still not going to be able to stop Patrick Mahomes every time. But I do see them being able to stop them on occasion, and can the Chiefs defense do the same thing? I don't know. We'll see. Sometimes Spagnuolo's calls work and that defense plays well, and other times not so much. So that's the thing that scares me, is their ability to A, get stops, and B, maybe hold Philadelphia to field goals.
The one part of the Philadelphia team that could lead to their downfall.
Whew. This is a team that doesn't have a lot of holes. That's why I like this team, and that's why they've had the success they have. They got special teams, they got offense, they got defense. There's not really a weakness to this team, and that's why I like them. The only thing that I could see as being a weakness is if, as I mentioned, the Chiefs somehow are able to stop them from running the ball. If they become one-dimensional and have to throw it, if Jalen Hurts has to throw the ball 40-plus times, I don't think the Eagles are going to win.
How about this? I'll play the devil's advocate here. How about the coaching difference in the fact that this is a second-year coach, has done well so far.
Yeah.
But in the playoffs, kind of two free rides. The Giants weren't ready for prime time. And then San Francisco is on their third-string quarterback, and he gets hurt midway through the game. If it is tight and it's coming down to the end of the game, does Sirianni have the wherewithal to stick with Reed?
That's a good point. That is a very good point. And I guess I should have mentioned that because we don't know. I mean, he's never been in this situation. I mean, this is Andy Reid's, third Super Bowl in the last 4 years. It's his fourth Super Bowl overall. He's no stranger to this game and this type of pressure and this environment. He's going to know what to do, and I think he will limit the coaching mistakes. Does the moment get too big for Sirianni and his staff? Potentially. I mean, that's definitely something to look out for.
Yeah, the other thing that they always talk about is, and it seems like a minor thing, but the halftime, how it drags on. And I remember in the Giants Super Bowl when they scored just before halftime and they went in and then they got the ball to begin the second half against the Bills. And that team went flat because they hadn't been on the field for over an hour. So those are the things that's where the coaching gets into it. Is you better be prepared for that, keeping that halftime, using the time wisely, and being ready when it moves on.
Well, and making adjustments. I mean, there's going to be things that work in the first half. There's going to be things that don't. Figuring out what to go with in the second half, and what adjustments to make, if any. That's going to be key, and that's going to come down to the head coach. So far, so good for Nick Sirianni. I have to admit, when he came out with that opening press conference, I had a lot of questions about this guy. I was like, what in the hell is he talking about? And why in the F did they hire this dude? But he's proved me wrong, man. He's done a really, really good job. And the way he's gotten these guys to buy in, the energy that this dude has, it's been impressive.
Him and Howie put together a good team. I mean, that's a decade team. That's a team that could dominate the NFC East. And it's hard for me to say, but I mean, the Giants have a lot of work to catch up with this team, and even the Cowboys have a lot of work to bridge this gap. This team is, like I said, I don't see many weaknesses.
That's what I just said. I mean, you were telling me what's the one thing that could be their downfall. I'm like, I don't know. That's why I feel good about them in this game, is that they're strong across the board. Their defense is good. Their offense is good. As I mentioned, they have a good returner. They got a good kicker. They got a good punter. They do pretty much everything well, and that's why they've won 14 games.
All right, so time for us to come with our predictions. I'll let you go first. What do you think?
Well, I want the Eagles to win, and I'm going to be cheering for the Eagles. That being said, I agree with you. I think it's just going to be too much. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, they know how to do this. They know how to win. I'm going to take the Chiefs in a close one, 27-24. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to come down to, who has the ball last. And as we've seen, if you give the Chiefs 13 seconds, that's all they need. So I think the Chiefs pull it out with a field goal at the very end.
Well, I'm going to contrast you. I'm going to go with the Eagles 26-23. I just think this team, like we said, there's no weaknesses. And, as much as I just searched to bring up the Sirianni thing to see what you think about that. But, I mean, here's a guy who hasn't made any mistakes. So the fact of the matter is, you can't even sit there and say, well, he hasn't made any mistakes. And so there's nothing for me to believe that he and I just think the defense of the Eagles I trust more than the defense of Kansas City. I just think that's going to be there. I know you're not going to, as everybody says about Patrick Mahomes, it's not about stopping Patrick Mahomes. It's limiting his damage.
Yeah.
If he gets 21 points on you, fine. All you need is 24. Just don't let him, like you say, have time on the clock. If you're holding on to a lead, leave no time for him to come back. And I think the running game and the defense are going to help the Eagles keep that away from Mahomes, because they'll be able to, if they get a lead, to run the ball and use the clock.
Yeah, no, that's going to be huge. If the Eagles can get ahead, go up 14-7, 17-7, and get a little bit of a cushion, that's going to be huge, because once the Chiefs get ahead, it's tough sometimes to catch up to them if they're rolling. But the thing is, sometimes the Chiefs get a little bit antsy if they can't get a big hitter. If you can keep them in front of you, if you can make him dink and dunk, and have to take the short stuff, sometimes Mahomes gets frustrated with that, and he lets one loose. So I think that'll be really crucial to the Eagles' success is keeping everybody in front of them, and like I said, not letting Travis Kelce score 3 touchdowns. I mean, you just can't let that guy beat you. I don't trust anyone else on the Chiefs wide receiver core to really dominate the game. So if you could just hold this one dude down, I think you got a chance. But let's be honest, man. I mean,
if you'll be the first.
if you're trying to get the ball to Kelce every time, you better get it to him very quickly, because I got news for you. Brandon Graham's coming for you. Hassan Reddick is coming for you.
Yeah.
Josh Sweat, Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph, Robert Quinn. I could keep going.
Yeah.
This team is deep as F, and they are all good defensive linemen. So you better get the ball out of your hands quickly if you want to stay upright.
Yeah, like I said, well, we'll see. I picked the Eagles, you picked the Chiefs. I got to say one thing to you. I want to thank the NFL Network earlier this week, because what they had was they replayed every NFL film Super Bowl, which I taped. So instead of watching any stupid pregame shows, we watched every Super Bowl throughout the day, getting ready for the game. I used to love doing that. ESPN used to do that every Super Bowl. They would show every previous Super Bowl, and I looked so forward to that.
Yeah,
it made my day.
No, that's awesome.
And now it's like, here's a betting show, here's a fantasy show, here's a this show, here's a that show, all saying the same things. I'll take this. I'm going to sit down and watch every Super Bowl, getting ready for the Super Bowl, and hopefully it lives up to the hype.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch people talking about the game all day long. I've already heard, the Radio Row all week long while people come on and like, I'm here for sleep number bed and sleep on number bed, and I'm picking the Chiefs. It's just like, dude, I've heard this 25 times.
I love it. That's one of my favorite parts, is when they sit there and they talk to the guy who used to be on the game, blah, 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 and then with like a minute left in the interview, oh, and you're here to talk about something special. Yes, I'm here to talk about Mountain Dew.
Yeah, Budweiser. It's the great beer of champions.
Exactly. So,
okay, dude.
All right. We'll call it a night here so you can get home to your family and get ready for the game. Going to be watching it at home, or what are you doing?
Yeah, well, we're going over to my folks' house to watch it on the big screen. So we're going to go over there. They're not going to be there, but we're going to be over there watching it on their big-ass TV. So it should be fun. Should be interesting. And hopefully I'm wrong and the Eagles win, because I'm actually, this is what I do. Remember last year I was cheering, or 2 years ago I was cheering for the opponent, but I picked the Buccaneers because I knew that they were going to win. But I was definitely cheering for Mahomes.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Like I said, I don't really have a horse in this race because, as a Giant fan, you don't really like the Eagles, even though I like Jalen Hurts and I like Sirianni. I don't like the Eagles. But I look at that team and like we talked about, it just looks like it's their year. So
I hope so.
All right, my friend. Have a good weekend. I will talk to you next week.
All right. Sounds good.